Thanksgiving is a time of year when people sit in reflection upon wonderful memories of days gone by. It is a time of rejoicing, of celebration, of reestablishing the bonds of friendship and family. It is the pinnacle of our autumnal consciousness. But it is also a time when the specters and phantoms of the past emerge to dance as vague shadows along the stones of the amber-lit hearth, to flit as tattered shades through the dark, crisp November air. Blackwater Media presents A Haunted Thanksgiving. For the purposes of this story, I wish to remain anonymous, and I'm not even going to tell you where it happened. What I will tell you is that the city it happened in has a really large Thanksgiving Day parade every year. I'd never been to one of them before, but I always watched it on TV. I went ahead and decided to go one year, and I couldn't find anyone who wanted to go with me. None of my family or friends wanted to spend Thanksgiving standing in the cold, I guess. By the time I got into the parade route, it was really packed, and I was worried whether or not I'd be able to see that well. I'm not that tall, but I was able to find a spot behind another group of people that gave me a pretty good view of the parade route. I hadn't been there very long when I noticed someone who, for some reason, just caught my eye. I can't say there was anything unusual about him, really. He was rather big, a little unkempt, but there was just something about him. I, in fact, found myself continuously looking over at him. A few times I was looking at the man, he caught me looking. As most people do when they're caught looking at someone, I quickly looked away each time. This guy was really weird. My curiosity got to me eventually, and I started looking in his direction again. After a while, I could tell that he was getting annoyed, and I resolved to try harder not to look at him, but that just made it worse. It was so goddamn weird. After a while, I looked at the man again and noticed that he was closer to me than he had been before. I didn't think about it at first because we were in a big crowd watching a parade. People moving around in the crowd were in no way unusual. But the more I glanced over at him, the closer and closer to me he kept moving. He was doing it casually, though, making his way around the other people. And he was definitely coming in my direction. What the fuck? To test and see what he would do, I made my own way through the crowd toward the back of the sidewalk. I glanced at him, and he immediately switched course to be coming toward me. I was convinced he was coming at me, and I was mildly alarmed. However, I kept telling myself that it wasn't anything to worry about. I was at a parade with thousands of people. If the guy was going to try and hurt me, he'd get caught pretty quickly. I guess that's the problem with assumptions, though. They really don't take all possible scenarios into account. The man did make his way over. There was only one person separating us when he stopped and went back to looking at the parade. I relaxed a bit, but when the man separating us moved, the guy moved up against me. I was about to move before I felt something sharp against my back. This motherfucker had a knife. And probably because we were in a big crowd, he was able to hide the fact that he was holding it up against my back. I mean, to any bystanders, he looked like a guy in a crowd watching a parade. He asked me why I was staring at him over and over, and I was too scared to speak at first. But when he asked again and moved the knife, I apologized, telling him that I didn't mean to stare. I didn't know why I was looking at him. He told me he didn't believe me. And as if it were possible, the shit got even weirder. He asked me how much McMahon was paying me. Now, I had no idea what he was talking about or who the hell McMahon was, but he didn't believe me. He kept pushing on the knife and told me I'd better tell him the truth. I heard my voice crack, and I pleaded to the guy to leave me the hell alone and that I didn't know what he was talking about. I guess my words were somehow heard over the noise of the parade because two guys looked at us and then asked the guy what he was doing. I really thought he was just going to stab me then and there, but I guess he figured that he'd never be able to do it and then get away in this crowd. He slipped the knife away, didn't answer the two men, and took off. They didn't go after him. They just made sure I was all right. To this day, I have no idea who McMahon was, but it doesn't matter. I can tell you this, though. I've been a hell of a lot more careful about not staring at people.